Okay, check it. I just got put on this show to watch called Hajime no Ippo. So I was watching the show, basically the fights, to be honest with you. And I want to give a huge shout out to my bro Tristan one time for putting me onto this show. And out of all the fights, today we are going to cover personally a straight 10 out of 10 fight I have ever watched and enjoyed, to be honest. And that is Bryan Hawk versus Takamura. Like, bro, the build up to their fight was intense and amazing as well. And today we are going to cover how this led up to their fight. So let's get into it. So the scene kicks off with Bryan Hawk straight out of New York, and he is living a shitty, terrible life right now. But one late fateful night, Bryan was running for his life from a dude who held him up at gunpoint, and right before he was gonna get his brain turned into ground beef, something snapped in him. The voices in his head were awakened. No Randy Orton. He beat the living crap out of this nigga and about to send him to meet OJ Simpson down in hell. But Miguel Zell stopped him because he was about to kill the man, and he brought him to the boxing world. And when Bryan accepted Miguel's deal, the rest was in the history books, because he knocked out every single opponent he faced with no home training, and he did it with no hesitation and became the world champion. So after Miguel saved Bryan from beating up an innocent man, later on we see Takamura having the fight of his life, and he is down 1 HP, and he looks out at ringside and sees Bryan Hawk in the crowd with some bitches, and Takamura was heated and pissed off and wanted to send a message directly in front of the champion. He knocked the dude out right outside the ring, right in front of him. So after Takamura started mean mugging him, you want to know what Bryan did? He just stood up and clapped, and he was entertained and excited to fight Takamura. So later on, after the fight and Takamura having a chat with the press in his locker room, Bryan pulls up to his locker room, and Lord Almighty, what this man says to everyone in that room is literally gonna make your jaw drop. He tells the translator to tell him Mr. Hawk wanna shake the hand of his next opponent, but then he says something that got the translator shaking in his boots and says, Mr. Hawk came to Japan to have a taste of our women. Like, nigga, what? So you came to Japan just to get with the women and not acknowledge this dude's fight? Like, bro, if we're being real, this nigga's a passport, bro. If we're being honest. And this nigga started laughing and said, come on, Takamura, where's my handshake at, fuck nigga? So Takamura was not about to take this disrespect after embarrassing him, so he swings at him, but Bryan grabs his fist with one hand and says, now that's a handshake, buddy. Like, nigga, how is grabbing someone's punch a handshake? Absolutely ridiculous. So after embarrassing Takamura in his locker room, later on we arrive at the press conference right before their epic showdown, where Bryan Hawk was on his disrespect timing, just like how Trae Young was when he was feuding with the New York Knicks. He was insulting reporters, and right after that they get into fighting stance, and when they had their face off and Takamura's crew think it won't be chaos, Bryan decides to give him a little uppercut. So Takamura gets pissed off and he was about to swing at him, but his crew hold him back, and his coach grabs Hawk by the shirt and started cussing him out. But Bryan just looks at him with a smile on his face, and yeah, y'all know exactly what he does next. He slapped the piss out of him right in front of Takamura and started cussing everybody at the press, and this unhinged son of a bitch said one of the most wildest lines I have ever heard in my life. This man says in my exact words, you wanna beat me, eh? Then bring me all of your women. I'll give you my genes. I'll spread my seed throughout this country. Pause. And in 20 years, Japan will be crawling with world champions.
What the fuck?
Is this nigga serious?
Out of all the years of me watching anime, this man right here is probably one of the most unhinged character I have ever seen in my life. And I don't know if it's just me, this nigga looks exactly like Yujiro Hama from Baki, like he the forgotten son. Like Yujiro had another child with another woman and forgot to bring home the milk and disappeared out of his life. So after the press conference and Takamura once again getting embarrassed in public, later on he begins his training because he want to put an end to Bryan's reign of disrespect. disrespect. So now, after everything that happened up to this point, it is finally time for fight night, and I'm gonna be real honest with y'all right now. The way how this fight went down from beginning all the way to the end is going to make your jaw drop to the ground. But before we get into the fight, and if you're new to my channel, you might as well subscribe. But back into the fight. The moment Bryan Hawk made his entrance with his harem of snow bunnies, the disrespect really took a turn for the worse. Because when he removed his armor like he came back from the Renaissance War, he was wearing a Takamura merch, and right in front of him, he rips it into shreds, trying to push every single button possible, and the crowd started booing this nigga like how WWE fans were the night Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker back in 2017. So the bell rings and they start squaring each other up, but Bryan drops his shoulders, pretty much he dropped his guard down to make Takamura throw the first punch. But Takamura did not waste no time. He started throwing punches, forcing Bryan into a corner and blocking his punches. But sadly for Takamura, he fell right into Bryan's trap, because when Bryan saw the opening, he grabs the rope and uppercutted the life out of this nigga, made his head look like a 90-degree angle, and then he leans back thinking he's Steve from Tekken and gave him a mean left, and Takamura was unconscious. But y'all know Takamura was not about to go out like no bitch. He starts to counterattack and gave a punch directly to the side of his stomach, and it just got more gruesome and brutal from here, because Bryan started throwing punches while being tilted over like, my dude, what the fuck is this? But the bell rings, they go to their corners, and right before the bell rang and continued their fight, Takamura's coach gives him a slap to his back, pause, leaving a handprint to give him some motivation to defeat Bryan. And Takamura was pissed off. He was about to choke his coach out to death. So Takamura uses his footwork to throw off Bryan's game, but it was too good to be true. Bryan threw punches, but Takamura responded with a right hook, but Bryan ate that shit and gave him a nasty left, and Takamura was knocked out while the ref was counting, but he tells the ref that he didn't go down. Like, buddy, you are knocked off your ass. But Bryan was done playing around. He had Takamura on the ropes and lighted his ass up like a Christmas tree. Then he knocked him out cold again and started emoting on him. And I swear to God, bro, when he hit this nigga with a mean ass left, I thought it was over for Takamura. And just off of that, ladies and gents, you knew how the rest of this fight was gonna go. Every round, Bryan was on his ass like how y'all horny gooners be when they release new snow bunnies on Marvel Rivals. It was absolutely ridiculous. But at last, y'all know how anime is. This man Takamura gets saved by the power of plot. And at this point, these niggas were laying it all on the line like LeBron and Steph Curry did when they faced each other on Christmas Day. So they charged their punch at each other and started mean mugging the other. And then these niggas punch each other at the same damn time, remaking the Goku and Vegeta pose from Dragon Ball. But the round was over and Bryan was irate and furious that Takamura was going to kill him, but his coach told him to think back of his past. And I'm gonna be transparent with y'all real quick. The way how this fight ended is absolutely crazy. So Takamura goes for the killing blow, and right before it strikes, Bryan sees it and leaned backwards, and his eyes are bloodshot red, thinking he's Sasuke Uchiha. He starts smiling and hits Takamura, thinking the fight is over. But unfortunately for Bryan, Takamura had him right where he wanted him. He weaves the punch, missing his face, and Bryan knew his world was gonna come crashing down just like Roddy Ricch dropping an album. He drilled his face to the ground and it replayed 3 different times, and Takamura has won the fight. GG, easy, game over. And I'm gonna be completely real and honest here. Bryan Hawk legit low-key got robbed here. Like, let's be for real. This fight should have ended like rounds ago. This man knocked out Takamura multiple times. Like, ref, what are we doing, bro? Your license needs to be terminated immediately, my nigga. But you know what? Takamura deserved it though, because of the disrespect Bryan Hawk did to this man is justifiable. And after the fight, Bryan Hawk retired. And I mean, literally, this man Takamura gave this nigga PTSD, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's the end of the video. It is like, what, 2:30 in the morning of me recording this, and I'm extremely tired of the editing and recording. But hey, like they say, the grind continues. And I know my next video was supposed to be Naruto versus Sasuke, but I got a special video for y'all. Beats Gohan and Piccolo versus Cell Max. Shout out to Tristan one time for putting me on this show. And we're gonna take a detour, and the Naruto and Sasuke vid will pretty much come out sometime in June. So I'm gonna go get me some some sleep. I'll see y'all in the Gohan vid, and good night.